Welcome to the Rochester, New Hampshire History Podcast, a monthly show that will shine a light on a piece of history that has been all but forgotten.
Imagine it's a hot summer day in 1921. You are walking on Wakefield Street. A train whistle blares from the depot on Portland Street, announcing the approach of a train. You walk near Huntley Spaulding's beautiful house. You look at both sides of Wakefield Street, and they are lined with large elm trees. Even though it's a hot, sunny day, the elms provide shade, and you think you will have no problem staying out of the sun while on the city streets.
Did you ever notice in old pictures of downtown Rochester that the city streets were lined with large, beautiful elm trees? Elm trees were the perfect city tree. They grew large and created arched profiles that rose into the sky. Their branches and leaves provided lots of shade and beauty to the townscape. Back in the day, many would rest against these trees to read or simply take the view in. In the 19th century, Rochester, like many New England towns, planted elm trees in order to beautify the downtown streets. The elms grew fast, and soon the streets of Rochester were lined with majestic elm trees. In the 1930s, it is estimated that America had over 25 million elm trees, but that was then, and this is now. For the majority of us, the giant elms of downtown are the memories of our ancestors. You might ask, what happened? Where did all the elm trees go?
Everything was fine up to the 1930s. Then the elms started dying. Their demise came by the way of Dutch Elm Disease, which wilted and yellowed the leaves. This would spread throughout the tree, and within months the tree would die. The Dutch Elm Disease arrived in wood shipped from Europe to Ohio in 1930. The European wood was infested with bark beetles, which carried Dutch Elm Disease. By 1933, these beetles started infesting the bark of the elm trees in Ohio and infecting them. It was an unstoppable force. The long rows of trees on America's main streets could not defend itself against the disease. So when Dutch elm disease arrived, it spread to other states, and the long lines of elms that graced America's cities and towns started to die.
By 1949, the first case of the disease was reported in New Hampshire. Soon it spread to Rochester's trees, and a 1950 Rochester Courier stated that Dutch elm disease looked to be severe. An effort to save the elms was attempted by spraying the poisonous DDT on the trees. Unfortunately, the beetles were not greatly affected by the poison, but thousands of birds were killed in the process. By the late 1950s, the elms were gone or were dying. Eventually, the worsening condition of the elm forced Rochester to cut them down. Thus, the appearance of downtown Rochester and the countryside were changed forever.
This ends the podcast. If you have any questions or comments, please email bobgriffinpodcast@gmail.com and come back next month for another episode of Rochester, New Hampshire History.